story that shocked me and angered many of my listeners is Afghanistan. Another 650 people have been evacuated from Afghanistan as part of Australia's rescue mission. The Prime Minister says 4 RAAF flights and 1 Air New Zealand Air Force flight picked up passengers from Kabul overnight. Luke Howarth is the LNP's federal member for Petrie and the Assistant Minister for Youth and Jobs. I spoke with Labor's Jim Chalmers yesterday. Luke Howarth today. Luke Howarth, what's the last day Australian Defence Forces can evacuate people from Afghanistan?
Well, thanks, Steve. Great to be on your show, and hi to the listeners. I think, as you said earlier, the 31st of August was a cut-off date, but it may well be before then. So the National Security Committee of Cabinet meet daily at the moment, and they're working through, along with the Chief of the Defence Force, as to when, how, and what is the best way to get our Air Force in to help people out. But I can't actually give you an exact date, but it will be this month. So you've got a week to go. The 31st of
August. All right, okay. Given what you've told me, numerous Australian Defence Force members have gone on record, both on this radio station, ABC TV, and the commercial media, saying that they warned the federal government that this was going to happen, and that we needed to get those who helped ADF personnel out of Afghanistan ages ago. But instead, the Australian government decided to wait until the last minute. Why?
Well, I do note that you were saying that, and they were saying back in 2013, I think, they warned people, but
that's a different issue. But anyhow, keep going.
Okay. I mean, because I was going to say, I was back there in 2015. It was a completely different place. I think I said to you last week, we saw what Australia and the British were doing to help the Afghan army train.
Yeah, but can I get you to answer my questions? Numerous, in the last few days, numerous ADF members have gone on record saying they were warning both, the federal government and others, that this was going to happen and that they needed to get them out. I spoke with one former Army Major who did 2 tours, who said on the 31st of May he wrote to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister supposedly received the letter. He heard nothing back from any federal cabinet minister, from anyone. Nothing. Still has not heard a thing, warning them of what the danger was. But Australia waited until the last minute.
Yeah, look, I don't know about that. I can't comment about what former personnel have said to you, Steve. I really don't know. It'd be silly of me to comment. What I can tell you is before the 31st of May, we were already pulling people out. So we closed our embassy in Afghanistan and Kabul in April this year, and since then we've brought 500 people out that were locally engaged employees, interpreters and so forth, consulate staff, helping the Australian Defence Force. 500 people out before then, back in April. And then in the last week, with everything that's happened, there's been reports of between 1,600 and 2,000 people that the Australian Defence Force have taken out. And at the end of the day, the Defence Force have done a wonderful job, and we take our directions as a government through. I'm not on the National Security Committee. It's a very small select committee of 6 or so key ministers, including the Defence Minister, the Home Affairs Minister, the Foreign Affairs Minister, the Prime Minister, the Treasurer and the Finance Minister, as well as the heads of each of those departments. So the Chief of the Defence Force is on that committee giving advice to the National Security Committee. Now, I think if you've got the Chief of the Defence Force giving advice, that advice is followed.
All right. We've also been told that ADF members were told on the ground in Afghanistan back in 2013 not to help Afghan interpreters lodge a visa application to Australia. Did the Commonwealth direct the ADF to tell this to Australian personnel serving in Afghanistan at any stage? But we were told specifically, we've got a couple of different accounts of that now, back in 2013, that Defence Force personnel were told not to help Afghan interpreters lodging visa applications from Australia.
Well, I know nothing about that. And as I said, in 2013, it was 4 prime ministers ago. I was actually in Afghanistan in 2014 with the Australian Defence Force in Kabul, in Kandahar, as part of the Australian Defence Force parliamentary program. And it was a completely different country from what it was right now. So I really can't give you the information that or confirm what people have told you back in 2013. I mean, I wasn't even in Parliament until later that year. So, yeah. But right now, I stress again, there's a lot of work being done, and we've obviously taken the lead from the United States, who pulled out fairly quickly, although President Obama and Trump mentioned before the current president that they would pull out. I think in their wildest dreams, the current US president, it's clear, had no comprehension that Afghanistan would fall so quickly to the Taliban. I mean, let's be realistic. Let's talk about what's happened. They thought that the Afghan Defence Force would maintain control of the country, certainly Kabul. They didn't expect them to fall so quickly to the Taliban. They didn't expect the Taliban to take over all the defence equipment that the United States left there for the Afghan Defence Force. So Australia was taking, I guess, in other allied countries, the US's lead here. I think it would be wrong to say that the fall of Afghanistan in the last week was in any way knew that this was going to happen. I mean, people could not comprehend it. I mean, if you spoke...
Well, our intelligence service is not telling you that, because the Central Intelligence Agency was telling the American government that. Why couldn't we pick up on that? Why didn't we hear that?
Well, what I'm saying to you is that the current president over there had no idea. We've all seen the pictures of him on TV saying, oh no, look, the Afghan army will, they'll be fine, they're not going to be taken over. Then allies wouldn't. But what I would say, and I want to end on a positive note, is that the Australian Defence Force and the Australian government has acted on every information that we've been given. The National Security Committee has been meeting daily for the last couple of weeks, and the ADF, I want Australians to know, the compassion, the professionalship, the leadership that they've shown to people that they picked up on those flights in the last week, almost 2,000 people, women and children as well, has been amazing, and we're certainly doing our bit. We have one of the largest refugee intakes per capita from anywhere else in the world outside Canada, and I just want to plug the ADF, and every day we're doing everything we can to get people out.
No one's questioning the compassion of the Australian Defence Force. No one. Let me move on. The member for Traeger, Robbie Katter, has called for Afghan refugees to be resettled in regional Queensland towns to help with COVID-related labour shortage. He says more humanitarian visas should be made available for Afghan people fleeing Taliban rule, and that Western and remote Queensland would love to have them. I know he's going to meet the Commonwealth Department to talk about this soon. How open is the Commonwealth to this?
Yeah, look, Steve, we're very open to that. We're not opposed to that in any way. I mean, I think regional Queensland and Australia has a lot to offer. There's work out there. There's communities that would love to welcome people from all around the world, as we traditionally have in Australia. We're the most successful multicultural country, and there's no reason why they couldn't. Also, I'd say is in relation to refugees, that some of these people have just escaped from a very traumatic had a very traumatic experience. They might need mental health support and some training with language and so forth before they go into those areas. So I just have to, obviously, the state member you're referring to will be able to talk to the department there about what those people need, but we're certainly not opposed to them being resettled in regional communities.
My guest, Luke Howarth, is the LNP member for Petrie. He's also the Assistant Minister for Youth and Employment Services, and I understand it's Skills Week this week and that you've been making some announcements this week. Exactly what, Luke Howarth?
Yeah, look, it is National Skills Week, and we have a program at the moment called Job Trainer, where people might be out of work, looking to change career, finishing school, and reskilling through vocational education and training is something that's absolutely essential. We've got a $6.4 billion budget this year, the highest in the history of the Commonwealth, and we've had 230,000 enrolments plus with Job Trainer, which is basically low fee or fee-free training. But skilling basically enables Queenslanders and Australians to be strong and resilient for the future. We're also putting record funding into mental health, $2.3 billion for mental health and suicide prevention. But if people want to know more about National Skills Week, get on to www.nationalskillsweek.com www.nationalskillsweek.com.au, because this is so important for a post-COVID future. With the vaccination rates really ramping up now and the agreement through National Cabinet, we need to be preparing for the future now. So low or fee-free training, get onto nationalskillsweek.com.au and check out the website there.
Luke Howarth, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Luke Howarth is the LNP member for Petrie and Assistant Minister for Youth and Employment Services.